So you log on to TikTok one day, you get the post that the Duolingo mascot, the owl, is dead. We were panicking. I personally was panicking. And I was like, what the hell? Like the person in the mascot outfit or the business or the brand, like who is dead? That played out for I don't know how many days, but they were just playing onto it and we couldn't figure out what was going on. That was the whole plan. Duolingo had a plan to kill their mascot and to give people the idea that the brand was dying. And I remember, I don't know, one of their representatives did an interview and they were like, they are focused on growing the brand slowly rather than fast because Duolingo's marketing team is modern day one of the best that we've ever seen, and the way they interact with their audience, the way they interact with other brands is just so crazy and quite frankly unhinged. It was surprising, but it just was not really surprising at all, if you know what I mean. Today we are going to be talking about the strategy behind Duolingo. Hello, my name is Jael, and this is JLX Media Lab, where we transform your brand from ordinary into a powerhouse using marketing audits, strategy, and advertising. Today, we're going to be talking about the strategy behind Duolingo. First of all, what is Duolingo? Duolingo is a platform or an app that is used to learn other languages. So, if you're looking to learn a new language, Duolingo is probably the first platform that's going to show up when you search up language learning or anything of that nature. And the way Duolingo works is they gamify their system so that each day there is a new game, there's a new challenge for you to learn the language. And from being a former Duolingo user myself, I would say that the app is more so for games than learning language. This is going to be a controversial take, but I remember in the summer of 2018, I embarked on learning French. I was like, I need to freshen up my French skills and I need to be able to communicate with, my family members and stuff. So I downloaded Duolingo and I was on Duolingo for about close to a year. And in that year, I learned two sentences. I learned two sentences and two phrases that I was able to say. And I thought to myself, like, if I were to fly off to Paris or Senegal or something like that, would I even be able to properly communicate? And most people have said the same about Duolingo, that it's not necessarily a language app per se. It's more so, I don't know what it is, but even Duolingo themselves said that they're not really focused on language learning. But formally, it is supposed to be a language learning app. So you can see how that is kind of confusing. So, love it or hate it, here are three tips and three strategies that made Duolingo become front and center. And uh, I guess I want to say a leader in pop culture when it comes to language learning or just marketing as a whole. And it's so crazy because they're not a marketing agency. But when it comes to marketing, most brands tell you to study Duolingo. I cannot count on my hands how many times I've interviewed for other brands. Like when I fresh graduated out of college, I was like, I'm looking for a marketing internship. And most of the people that I interviewed, the brands that I interviewed with, they used Duolingo's strategy. I'm telling you, when you're doing strategy research, Duolingo is on the list of the brands to research. So, what is the strategy behind this brand and why are they so powerful? Number one, the owl is the gosh darn owl. The owl is not a mascot. When people ask about the owl and people say that, oh, it's just like a brand mascot, I think about the owl as more of a personality. That owl is not a mascot. You can't kill a mascot. A mascot can't roast you. A mascot can't like shame you for missing a day or missing time on the app. But the owl has a personality of its own, to the point that when you miss a lesson, the owl sends a notification to you and the owl roasts you. I used to get so many emails from the owl just telling me how incompetent I was because I missed a week of lessons. And whenever I would log on to Twitter, the owl would be tweeting, not the owl, but the person behind the owl would be tweeting just these outrageous things to the point that it matches up with their personality. So what they did is they found their mascot and they didn't just put the mascot on autopilot. They made that mascot a personality to the point that if they don't say anything, people are making memes of the owls. Like the Duolingo owl would say this, the Duolingo owl would act like this, like every single thing that they say about the owl is working in their favor, and is working in their favor because that is free publicity and that is free marketing. So I don't know whose idea it was to come up with the owl, but that is probably the smartest thing that they have ever done. Number two, Duolingo is okay with not making mistakes. Duolingo is not making mistakes. Duolingo is okay with learning. 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 much money. And this one actually surprised me because when I was researching for this video, I found out that they basically put out a statement to say that their brand their brand is their bookings are going to drop by 11% as opposed to it growing 20%, and they are perfectly okay with that. What would make a brand to be okay with that sort of loss as we would see it in the business world? I believe it's because their goal is to have 280 million users, as they stated before, by 2028, which is an ambitious goal considering the fact that they had a huge setback within the past 2 years with how their marketing team handled the scandals that were going on online. So, because they have that goal in mind, they are not necessarily chasing the money, they are chasing longevity. And for any brand that is thinking about building a legacy or scaling long term, that needs to be front and center of your mind all the time. When you're making the campaigns, when you are rebranding, when you're pitching, and when you are looking for funding to scale, in the back of your mind, you should always think that money is good, but money should not matter. The long term goal is what should be front and center of your mind. And Duolingo got that down. They got it down so bad that they don't really care. Like, they say the most outrageous things online, and people are like, what the heck? But then it reminds them, like, oh, I got a streak I need to complete on the app. And people log onto the app. So being visible and not caring about money so much is seen as a bad thing, but it's actually really helping them. Number three, repurpose. One thing I love about Duolingo is that they don't buy into the idea that you need to create separately for each platform. And the creating separately for each platform is true. When you're a small brand and you're growing, you need to cater to each platform's algorithm. And that can be exhausting and that can be tiring if you don't have a team. But what's crazy is they have a huge marketing team, but they don't give a damn. If they post a video on Instagram, you best believe that video is going to be on Twitter, that video is going to be on YouTube, is going to be on TikTok. They post the same content all around all platforms and they don't give a damn. I learned that it is effective in branding because you don't have a different voice per platform. So people recognize what your voice is and they know exactly what you're going to say. So when you say something, it doesn't really sound out of place and it doesn't really sound out of reach because you've said it on all platforms and you've said it once. So that's one thing I learned, and I feel like that if that were to be applied to your brand, it will make your brand better in terms of branding and in terms of brand voice. So that is it for today's breakdown. If you are looking to scale, market, or brand your business, you know where to find me. And until then, I will see you next week with another strategy behind. Have a blessed day. Love you.